You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, your guy Pat Lane here with my man Matt St. Jean. And Matt, this weekend was Father's Day. Hope you had a nice weekend celebrating your dad this weekend.
Yes.
I know I had a nice weekend being celebrated and also celebrating my dad and the dads close to me.
My dad lives far away now, but he got a nice gift card to go get himself some ice cream. So
Nice,
yeah,
nice. There you go.
Cream.
Just what you want. Just what you want. So, one other thing happening this weekend as well. We usually don't talk high school sports here, but we're going to do that for a second because I need to brag about my girls for just a bit here. Taunton High girls softball for the fifth, not one, not two, not three. LeBron James, sorry, but 5 straight years won the state championship on Saturday night. Just absolutely incredible. They beat Wachusett 10-4. They have won 50, I believe the number is 54 consecutive games, haven't lost a game in 2.5 years, nationally ranked for the first time in school history. Being a public school in the Northeast and being nationally ranked is unheard of. I think Sports Illustrated has them at 17th overall. Just insanity, just complete insanity. The mental toughness and resilience of the team, obviously great players, phenomenal players. Their shortstop's going to Providence to play. Brooke, she's incredible. Their pitcher, who also hit a home run and a double. The two of them combined for 7 RBIs, 7 of the 10 RBIs in the game. She's incredible. She's pitching at Georgetown next year. Like, they're phenomenal players. They were down 2-0 at the start of this game. They were down 4-2 later on in this game. Like, they just the mental toughness and the resilience with the target on their back all year long, winning 4 in a row, going back and winning 5 in a row. Shout out to my girl Mia, who had her 100th hit in the 6th inning, 100th career hit in the 16th inning, in the 6th inning, I should say. Pretty unbelievable. So unbelievable stuff from them. Some of those girls, Maddie and Kaylee and Mia are and Brooke, and Grace are basketball girls, and so I had the privilege and honor of coaching them in basketball, and then they win a state championship in softball. It's pretty cool. So I was there to attend. I'm one of the we call ourselves the uncles in the outfield. I'm one of the uncles in the outfield, screaming our heads off at the games, and it was a ton of fun, and couldn't be more proud of the girls. And by the way, the coach Michelle Raposo is my work neighbor, works next to me, and she's lost 1 game as a coach in 3 years. So she's okay, decent. Also won 2 state championships as a player. So she's okay. Unbelievable. So, anyways, I wanted to.
You said someone's going to Providence in there?
Yes, sir. Brooke. Yes, Brooke. Yep. So, Matt, I figured you'd like that one. Actually, what's funny is that her sister, who also played at Taunton High, just graduated from Providence as well. So it's pretty dope. So, Mr. Torres in the chat, saying let's go THS softball. So it's pretty cool. So, anyways, I figured we don't usually do high school sports here, but they needed a few minutes for 5 state championships in a row is outrageous.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible stuff. So congrats.
So, all right, should we talk? Maybe let's get into. We're gonna have to cap
hiccups
ourselves
over here, which is pretty brutal timing for this.
That's quite all right, Matt. We're gonna have to throw up because you might after this conversation. Before we get into the 21 games, we'll transition out of the awesome softball talk and go to the terrible baseball talk. The Red Sox, should we call them the Tampa Bay Red Sox? Should we perhaps call them the what's another small market? The Pittsburgh Red Sox. Should we refer to them as the Oklahoma City Red Sox? Perhaps they're the Omaha Red Sox. They just can't afford, guys. They just can't pay the money. You see, Rafael Devers is making so much money, and they just don't have the money to pay him. So they had no choice But to send him to the San Francisco Giants for a bag of donuts, and I listen. Maybe the guys that got back are going to be great. I don't see it, but hey, maybe they will. But the best player that got back is an outfielder, and they have 9 million outfielders. It makes no sense. It's wild.
Yeah, first of all, I was in shock when this first happened. Still am. Saw the original tweet about the Devers trade. Didn't think it was real. Turned on MLB Network and called my dad to see if he was seeing this too. And on MLB Network, it's right at the top of the hour. And they're leading off with the Red Sox-Yankees highlights because that's the big story at that point.
The Yankees. Yeah.
And they show the Devers home run, and the guy goes, and you're not going to be seeing many more of those. And I was like, oh, it's real. And that's when Jeff Passan tweeted it too. And it was, all right, well, I guess we got to deal with this reality now. Went for a walk. Figured I needed one of those. Walk lasted like an hour and a half. It started raining while I was out. I didn't even care.
Of course, yeah.
I need to be out right now. And then the carnage today and the reporting today. No one looks good in this. No. I think it's understandable why they traded Devers once they got to the point that they did. What's hard to understand are two things. One, how you get in this spot. Like this only becomes an issue because of communication stuff the front office instigates. So you solved the problem, the culture issue that was created by an unhappy Devers and what that might do to your young guys. And I get that. You also created the problem. Correct. So you don't get points for that.
Right.
And then the return, it is clear that they sacrificed getting players back for dumping the contract.
And they've admitted that. That has come out in the report.
So that is okay if and only if you are quickly reinvesting that money back into the team. This is 6 years in a row now that they've asked the fans to have patience. Next year is going to be the year.
Right.
And to win 5 in a row and then immediately trade away your best player, kind of, you're saying it's not this year. After people were picking you to go to the World Series. And there's a world where this trade works out. But for the trade to work out, everything else needs to go basically perfectly. You need this to be the exact catalyst needed to help the development of the young players and to get them all on the field at the same time together. And you need to immediately reinvest the money into high-quality players. You need a bat now, and you're going to need more pitching still.
Yeah.
And that's the top guy I think they got back, and it's actually the left-handed pitcher who they optioned to AAA.
Right.
He's a starter. He worked with who's their pitching coach? I'm blanking.
I don't remember.
Whoever the guy is. They worked together before. So the idea is, I think they see him as someone who could be another, maybe not Crochet level guy, but who can be an elite starter. He was the top left-handed pitching prospect in baseball a year ago. He's got some pedigree.
Yeah.
If he turns into a top 3 starter in your rotation by the end of the year, and you add a couple pieces at the deadline, and the young guys all develop, okay, this might end up looking good. But otherwise, you were just creating a problem and then fixing it by selling for 40 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, you got to figure out those hiccups over there.
It's 15 minutes of hiccups, maybe 20 minutes of hiccups now. I don't know what's going on.
Bad timing. We got to scare you or something like that. But the other issue for me is that, by the way, Roman Anthony his first home run tonight. Red Sox are up 1-0 in the third. Cool. And that's awesome. And I love the fact that Mayer and Anthony are up. The big issue for me is that if you didn't have the Mookie Betts trade, this wouldn't be as big of a deal. We already went through this. You already traded the best player on your team. And by the way, you could make the argument that Crochet is the best player on the team, and I wouldn't necessarily fight you on that if you believe that Crochet is the best player on the team. I'm cool with that, right? The best everyday player on your team, right, is what we can say. I think he's comfortably that right now. Is it possible that Roman Anthony or Marcelo Mayer pass him? Maybe, but you could have had all 3, right? And that. So, anyways, but the point for me is that they print money over there. don't tell me you got a salary dump because we don't have enough money. That's embarrassing. That's
It's
that's insulting us, right? You don't need to do that. Now we can say that, hey, things didn't really work out and things weren't going well, and he was a locker room cancer and blah blah blah. And again, they created that problem, but okay, fine, you had to move on. But then when it comes out today that John Henry put the kibosh on a deal because they were going to have to pay some of the contract, well, that says to me, well, wait a second, what were you going to get back? Because the position you need the most is first base. The number one prospect in the Giants organization, I believe he's a top 10 prospect in all of baseball, just happens to be a first baseman. Like, hello, that's the guy you should have gotten from the Giants.
that
Right?
or higher quality pitchers. Like those are the two things you're going
Right.
for.
Right. And so that's the thing for me is like, it's you wonder what are we going to get back for value? And this has been a consistent theme over and over and over and over again, unfortunately for Boston teams, right? Starting all the way back years ago when the Bruins traded Tyler Seguin and Louis Erickson back and a bunch of crap, right? And then they trade Mookie Betts and they get Alex Verdugo and a bunch of crap. And then they trade Xander Bogaerts, and I don't even know what they got back with Xander Bogaerts. And they traded Chris Sale, and they get friggin' who's the kid that can't find his way to AAA. I can't think of his name. Doesn't matter. Either way, you got nothing back for Chris Sale. The Red Sox, the Patriots, I'm sorry, let Tom Brady walk and get literally nothing back in return for him. Obviously, you get a third round comp pick back in return. Fine, whatever. But the point for me is that we're now going on years of trading guys and not getting anything back in return.
I mean,
right?
you go back 107 years to Babe Ruth. Like that's the original sin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. And that's, that one, and it wasn't No Net. Some people say it's No Net, and it's not. I forget the exact show.
It was
that
something
it was
worse. It was like a knockoff of another play.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was
real bad.
Yeah. Well,
So,
if you have to sell, you mentioned the Tyler Seguin thing. If you believe the rumors on the Tyler Seguin thing, it was a trade that had to be made. I don't know how much credence we actually put in those these days. But I don't like the reporting on this. It sounds like they brought in Breslow because he could give you the analytics-minded stuff that Bloom did, but with more decisiveness and the ability to relate to the players.
Right.
Well, he's not relating to the players. And it's
right?
pretty clear. Like there's an article I read months ago where it talks about him changing the baseball org in Boston. And like you read it and it's like, okay, this guy's making massive changes and making a lot of people mad. And that doesn't mean that he's wrong necessarily. Sometimes you have to get through a point and you're going to make people mad because, they thought they're doing a good job and you don't. And but it definitely seemed like he was not going about it in a tactful way, and I think we're seeing that continue. But then you also look at apparently Devers being mad that Christian Campbell was offering to play first base because he wanted to stick it to the org or something. Someone was saying, and
that's
okay,
that's
well,
not what you want either.
No, and there are parts of this that are on the Red Sox, but also, and I get that Devers being upset at points here, but that's way too far.
Correct.
That's overcorrection. And
I agree.
I get if you're the org looking at this is the highest paid guy in the history of the Red Sox, and he refuses to play the field. We can't communicate with him. He's setting a poor example for all the young players. I did hear someone. I don't know if you ever listened to Pod on Lansdowne. I was listening to them earlier today. Their episode from yesterday. And someone said that the Red Sox hated Devers internally. I don't know if that was the players or the front office that he's talking about there. But if this goes down like the Nomar trade where it was causing issues in the locker room and freeing that up just resets the room and the culture and allows guys to be better. And the timing could suggest that. The timing is right before a road trip. There's two reasons for that. One, you do not trust Devers around these guys on a road trip. Two, the owners know what they're doing, and they want as much distance between the trade and the next time they play a home game as possible.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both.
And we won't really know the effects of this for years, because this is also a trade made with 2026 and 2027 in mind when you're getting back prospects and
Very true.
And,
Yeah.
and Chris Kattia reported earlier that they're going to buy at the deadline. If that happens, okay, we'll see. Maybe it is genuinely a Devers thing, and it's not that they don't want to invest and that they want it. I'm open to a possibility that they wanted to free up cash to invest it in other players because they don't like Devers.
Right.
I'm skeptical that's going to work because it's hard to sign free agents. And this team gets no benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to believe that until I see those guys in a Red Sox uniform contributing, making this team better.
Couldn't agree more. All right, let's move on. Because we're talking Patriots here. A few people saying hello. Unexplained Phenomena saying hello. Jason Sapp saying hello. Thank you, appreciate that. And Paper
Meanwhile,
Waves.
Sox up 2-0 right now,
As
so
always,
maybe it is working.
That's true.
I don't know.
Duran with a triple in the third.
And Roman Anthony, first home run as well.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get into this. This week we're going to start. I'm actually gonna. Do you mind if I intro this game here, because this one's one of my favorite Patriots games of all time.
I'm down.
I'm a big fan of this game. So this game, December 7th, 2003, the New England area had been hit with a massive snowstorm. Your boy Pat Lane in attendance for the game. Fun fact, my father not in attendance for the game. He was supposed to be in Florida enjoying the sunshine. He was not, because his plane was canceled, and so he was stuck at home watching this game on the TV when he should have been in Florida. So unfortunately, that's the way it goes. We got in nice and early. The stands, the seats were not cleared. And so we actually dug out. It was me, my sister, and my buddy, my best friend Dave, dug out recliners in the snow. And we're sitting in recliners in the snow before the game started. It was a 4:15 game. So I think we were watching we were in early because we parked. Matter of fact, we parked in a spot just away from the stadium, right next to the McDonald's. For those of you that have been to the stadium before. And the place we went to was a house, and they said you can park here for free, but you have to dig your own. You have to shovel your own spot. So we're like, all right. So we got out and shoveled our own spot, and my dad's friends took us. So whatever, they kind of hung out in the car. We're like, all right, we're going in, and so we were hanging out in there and having a ball, and digging through the snow, and here come the Miami Dolphins. By the way, the 8-4 Miami Dolphins, who of course had not just lost, but at the beginning of the streak had lost a home game to the Patriots in overtime. Of course, that great iconic long touchdown pass to Troy Brown. Patriots come in on this long winning streak, of course, at 10-2, and you're looking at it saying all right, here we are, 8 games in. This is great. We're still going, but the Dolphins are a good team. Dolphins don't play well in the cold weather. And that's exactly what happens here, right? That's exactly what happens early on in the game. The Dolphins crossed the 50 once in the first half, getting to the 49, and then immediately getting sacked on the very next play. They finished the half with 45 yards of total net offense, which is just outrageous. The Patriots only finished with 137 net yards. And of course, only 3 points as well. Defensive struggle. No one could move the ball in the first half at all. But it's one of those memorable games for me because of all the snow. Because you're getting there and there's just snow everywhere. And again, like I said, the seats weren't even cleared. We're cleaning the seats off as people are getting there. It was wild. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has some iconic. I think one particularly iconic moment in this game.
Yes.
A couple other notes about this one I thought were interesting, kind of going into it. The Dolphins had won three games in a row heading into this one. They blew out the Cowboys on Thanksgiving the week before, and they were 2 games back in the division. Patriots obviously hold the tiebreaker. 3 games to play after this, so the Patriots could win the division, clinch it with a win here. But also, you lose it, and all of a sudden, it's a 1-game lead with 3 to go. So
Right.
important to win this one. Obviously, you clinches a home game in the playoffs if you win this one with that division. Um, we have complained on this podcast a lot about Ken Walter.
Yep.
He was cut
See ya.
before this game. He's gone.
Yep. Yep.
Rookie undrafted free agent Brooks Bernard signed to be the punter for this one. This would be his only NFL game. He would
And
never play again in the league.
what a game it was. I mean, not really,
Yeah.
but what a game it was.
He was active.
Yeah.
Antoine Smith active for this one. They actually benched him. He was inactive in Indy. And they talked about how on the faster turf field they wanted Kevin Falk and Mike Cloud, and then in the muddy environment they wanted Antoine Smith for this one. Pat's favored by 3 points, and we didn't touch on this in the first meeting because it was a little more high scoring, but Patriots would finish first in points allowed this year. The Dolphins would finish third. That explains why this game ends up going down. Yeah, 12-0 game, only 3 offensive points scored. The rest of them, a defensive touchdown and a safety. So, this is a day, especially with the conditions, a day of defense. Man, and they actually talk about it the week after this when we get to that game on the broadcast, how bad the field conditions were for this one.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Just awful field conditions. And this is one of those things, right? So first half, nobody can get the ball moving. The Patriots can't get the ball moving. The Dolphins can't get the ball moving. No one's doing anything. Well, then in the third quarter, the Dolphins start to move the ball a little bit. Now, remember, it's a 3-0 game still.
Can we
Dolphins get all the way? Go ahead.
Can we back up for that? Because I want to talk about how the Patriots took the lead in this one.
Yep.
Because we talked in the first game about officiating going Miami's way, and the Patriots still finding a way to win in Miami.
Yeah.
Their second possession, the Patriots, they control the ball for over 12 minutes in the first quarter. They don't go very far with it.
Yeah.
But they're able to pin Miami back. In their second possession, they get down into field goal range. Kevin Falk has a run in there. David Givens has a catch in there. Unnecessary roughness penalty from Miami in there. Helps move the ball. Vinatieri kicks a 29-yard field goal, and it goes over the upright. It was not good. Dolphins players say that's not good. The refs say it's good, so it counts. Yep. So it is good. The ball absolutely did not go within the uprights, but it counts. So Patriots got a little luck off the draw there.
Well, the rule is that the ball has to pass over the upright. It just can't be on the outside of the upright, I believe, is the rule.
When they talked about it on the broadcast, and the way they described it, it's kind of hard to tell what it meant because they're saying like the inside edge of the outside of the pole, and I'm like,
which by the way,
that means
the Patriots got screwed by that. I don't even remember what
Baltimore
year that was.
In 2012.
Was it 2012 in Baltimore? I was going to say I'm pretty sure it was in Baltimore.
It was in Baltimore. That's actually so that game in Baltimore was the night before the Hail Mary. That's with the replacement refs. So the lead story going into the Monday night game with the Packers Seahawks Hail Mary and all that was about the officiating blunders at the end of the night before in that game. That's the context for that one. But yeah, this is one of those where the call on the field is going to stand. And from the video, I really don't know if they got that call on the field right, but it counts for the Patriots. I'm not going to complain. This is 22 years ago, so it's not like anybody can change it now anyway. But it was like, oh man, that's after not getting the bounces in Miami, it was nice to have one go our way. I think
it's kind of nice. You're right. It is kind of nice to go that way. Adam misses a 54-yard field goal to end the half, which you really can't blame him for that in the conditions that they were in.
He almost made it.
And he did almost make it. You're right.
It hit the net. He had the distance. It missed by about 3 feet.
Yeah. So, but again, 54 yards in those conditions, like that's a tough ask. And so it takes a while. We go back and forth, and about midway through the third quarter, the Dolphins get the ball back and they start driving, and they get the ball all the way down to the Patriots 10, and they have 3rd and 3 at the Patriots 10. Fielder goes back to pass. He's sacked by Rodney Harrison, and the fumble is scooped up by Mike Vrabel, and all of a sudden, the Dolphins, who are in field goal range, looking to take the lead, perhaps tie, hopefully at worst tie, now have given the ball back to the Patriots. Yeah. And the Patriots didn't do anything with the ball, but
Nope.
the Dolphins would never get back into field goal range for the rest of the game. They never even. I think the furthest they got was like the New England. I think they got to the New England 38. I guess that's on the outside of field goal range, but on a day like today, there's just no way, from that deep, and so that kind of ended up being the game for them. That strip sack. And again, I just feel like when you talk about, especially the 03 team, and it's happened in the 04 team as well, but especially the 03 team, the defense makes a play, and it's the catalyst for the victory for the Patriots. And so, of course, you make that play, it stops them. Patriots immediately go 3 and out. And by the way, Brooks Barnett, we talked about at the beginning, right? He would finish the day with 10 punts. Now, he only averaged 36.5 yards per punt. However, he had 4 punts downed inside the 20-yard line, or at least with the Dolphins taking over inside the 20-yard line, and only 1 touchback. So, that's pretty good. Now, he certainly wasn't great, and he had a few bad punts mixed in there as well. And again, bad conditions and everything else. But I think ultimately what happened is that Vinatieri was like, no, I want Ken Walter back to be my holder. Like, it's more important, and I think that's ultimately what happened. But it is interesting that Barnard, who had a pretty good game in this game, never played another game in the NFL. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, he had a couple of short punts in there. There were 22 total punts in this game.
Yeah,
that's where we're at in this one. 15 drives from each team, a whole lot of 3 and out in this one. Patriots with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 3 and outs. Miami, they opened the game with 3 consecutive. They had, I think, 5 of their 6 first half possessions were 3 and outs. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 9 3 and outs. It's hard to tell because some of these drives end on turnovers.
Yeah.
So just totally, and you're right, that one possession in the second half, Miami drives, which we have to talk about how Miami gets down the field on this one, why they're at the 10-yard line, because Miami has the third and, is it the 3rd and 8 here? Wait,
it's a 3rd and 8, at the 50.
Yeah, and Jay Fiedler drops back to pass, throws the ball into coverage to, I believe, Chris Chambers, and somebody hits it. One of the 2 Patriots defenders involved tips it, or Chris Chambers does, and it goes over him, bounces, and Oronde Gadsden catches it and goes 23 yards. So the Dolphins were at midfield, and they go from the 50 down to the 27 in one play on 3rd down on the deflection. They get a couple more short. They actually get a 7-yard completion on 3rd and 7 that moves the chains. You watch if the line that they're showing on the broadcast is accurate, he's a full half yard, maybe full yard short of the first, and they just give it to him anyway.
Yeah.
So
that type of day.
And they get down to the New England 10, and a couple plays before that, Rodney Harrison had timed up a snap and had a big hit on it, and he does it again. Patriots bring a 3rd and 3 blitz. Rodney Harrison coming off the backside of it, and he is full sprint at the snap. He knows exactly when that's going to happen. It's play action, and it's one of those little it's play action to the left side, and Fiedler's got 2 options on the left side to throw it to. Harrison's coming from the right. Fiedler has no clue that he's there, and Harrison just rocks him. Patriots actually almost messed this up by not recovering the fumble because a couple guys tried to pick it up, take it to the house, which in snowy conditions like that, you have no chance of doing. Eventually, they do fall on it.
Yeah.
But you look at, through most of this game, the Patriots kind of dominate the field position, which I thought was huge. The Patriots did generally move the ball and pin Miami deep, which is why.
Well, what's interesting is that after that strip sack, Patriots go 3 and out. Dolphins get the ball back. They actually pick up a 1st down on their first play, and then have to punt. And Tyrone Poole, who's back there returning, muffs the punt.
Yeah.
Kevin Falk recovers the punt. And so we're thinking, whew, dodged the bullet there. The very next play, Tom Brady throws a pass to Kevin Falk, who then fumbles, and the Dolphins recover it. And so the Patriots almost turned it over once. Then they turn it over again. They are back like closer to midfield. This is where the Dolphins end up at the 38. But again, they're 15 yards out of makeable field goal range here, and they pick up 7. And the Patriots defense tightens up and says, "No, we're not allowing anything else." They force a punt, and that kind of that leads to what ends up happening later.
Which I think is also a big sequence. Worth noting here, Kevin Falk gets rocked by Brock Marion and what was I think a helmet-to-helmet hit. He's immediately knocked out and loses the ball. Of course, he'll be back the next week because concussions did not exist in 2003. But yeah, I think another play you look at here, a sequence that kind of ends up being what decides the game. Dolphins have a 4th and 3 at the Patriots' 38-yard line, down 3 in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go for it. They end up punting it, and not a great punt. It only pins the Pats at the 15. The Pats pick up pretty decent chunk of yards on this possession. Brady finds a branch for 25 yards and then 18 yards. So they get to the Miami 30. 4th and 11, so they can't go for it.
40, by the way.
Yes, 40. Sorry. They get to the 40, and Brooks Bernard punts, and they down it at the Miami 4. So similar field position. You do a better job with the punt in the next play after that with the Dolphins backed up in their own territory. Bruschi jumps up, intercepts a slant, just jumps right into that window, catches it with 2 hands, waltzes into the end zone, and slides in as the fans are throwing snowballs. And that's, Dolphins kind of being unable. They don't go for it on 4th and 3. They can't make a good special teams play. The defense can't force anything when the offense is backed up. And the fourth quarter, this turns from a 3-0 game to a 12-0 game because the Patriots defense does take advantage.
100%. And, that play, really that picture is the iconic picture with Bruschi, on his knees with his arms out and snow going everywhere. And that to me was incredible. And that was the first time. It wasn't the first time snow had been thrown at a game, right? But it was the first time that at the stadium we had thrown snow up with a song, and I believe it was Gary Glitter, which isn't allowed in the NFL stadiums anymore. But
yeah, that's
but it was hey, we're all throwing snow. It was awesome. It was
there's
what a moment.
Well, and there's a review. There's some delay at some point in that process. So they get in the full song before the extra point.
Yes.
And then they get in the full song again after the extra point.
And people
the crowd just losing.
It was incredible. And by the way, and I will say, I don't, every time after that we had a snow game, if we scored a touchdown, people would throw the snow up in the air. And I never did, because to me, it felt forced. It felt like, okay, we have to do this. And for me, it was no, that was so spur of the moment. Everyone had the same thought at the same time. Everyone was we're just going to all just randomly start doing it. And all of a sudden we look around holy crap, everyone else is doing it. This is great. And it was just such an incredible moment. And it just felt forced after that. But that moment was, it's unbelievable.
And the Patriots, we get an opportunity to throw snow a couple times here at the end of the game because Teddy Bruschi has the pick. Then obviously the extra point is just another opportunity to throw snow and keep that going. It's also worth noting on this extra point, Vinatieri banks it in. And Vinatieri banking in an extra point in the miss, not the make, but near miss in the first quarter. Right. That to me is that's why your punters, because the punter is not holding. Damon Heward is the one holding with him. And I think it's pretty clear that they looked at that. Adam was no, I'm not. I need my holder back.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
And then, what is that? Patriots end up forcing a 3-and-out, which the Dolphins are at their own 36-yard line on 4th and 1, down by 10, with the division on the line on the road.
Yeah, they punt.
You're at your own 36. You punt the ball. Cowardly decision making. Patriots don't really end up doing anything with it. And then when Miami gets the ball back, Ty Law gets a nice little interception, which, you're throwing snow again after that one. Patriots
And then,
back up. Okay.
well, I was going to say, after the Ty Law pick, you had said, Matt, that there were 22 total punts in the game.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that both teams had 11. And you say, but wait a second, Pat. The Patriots had an undrafted rookie punter,
had 10.
And he only had 10. So how's it possible that the Patriots had 11 punts? It's possible because Tom Brady lines up in the shotgun and punts the ball 36 yards with no return down all the way to the Miami 1-yard line.
Yeah.
Just
perfect.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. What couldn't he do, right? And then 3 plays later, Jarvis Green gets Jarvis Green and Mike Vrabel both get credited for it. But they sack Jay Fiedler in the end zone for safety, which gives you
and then
the
we're
12
throwing
nothing
snow again.
And then we're throwing again. We're throwing snow again. And that was the end of that. So it was not a very well played game, a sloppy game, certainly a defensive battle, but a very memorable Foxborough experience.
Yeah. And on that last drive where Brady punts it to, it was a 20-yard run by Antoine Smith, which I think is just like huge. That is why, that moves it from the Patriots 43 to the Dolphins 37. And
big difference.
It moves the clock down. So you're able to take, you're able to get it down to the 2-minute warning because of that run. And you're able to pin them at the 1 because of it. Offense doing just enough to get the job done. And that's that is an elite Miami Dolphins defense.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's any shame in those conditions of not scoring. Neither quarterback was really able to make a lot of big plays through the air. Like they get into the fourth. Brady had a couple nice throws,
which again, understandably so. And like you said, the conditions were one thing. The field conditions were atrocious.
It's both of those, yeah. Because there's no footing at all inside, especially between the 20s, because that's where basically this entire game is played. And there's wind too. The wind's gusting like 25 miles per hour. They talked on the broadcast about how you could really only throw in one direction, which of course is the direction the Patriots are going in the fourth quarter. So Miami again. They're backed up, down, and they're having a harder time throwing the ball. So, and this is, I want to go back. I just want to reference something real quick because we talked about this at one point. Some team recently decided they were going to have a domed stadium, and we were talking about, this is at the end of the season last year, the impact of weather on games, and like. This is what I love. Not like a 12-0 game is not aesthetically pleasing, obviously.
Right.
But the fact that when you play in weather like this, it demands something from you. Forget the mental willpower of playing in the cold and all that kinds of stuff. It demands that you adapt to your game. If you want to be a good team in the NFL, football is the ultimate game of rock, paper, scissors. Because everyone's good. And if you want to win games, you have to come out with a right strategy against what the other team's going to give you. Most football games are close. Most teams are talented. If you want, the difference between winning 6 games and 11 games can literally be just the right strategy and coaching and all of that with the same talent.
Yep.
So 100%. that is so important. And weather is another factor in that, being able to be prepared. And the more situations you can be ready for, the better you're going to be. That is what these Patriots teams did so well. Earlier that year, they beat Tennessee 38-30 in a game where they're just lighting up the scoreboard in the second half, and they can beat the number 3 defense in the NFL 12-0.
Right.
You have to be able to win multiple. If you want to win a championship, you got to be able to do one of 2 things. You either have to be so good at one thing that nobody can beat you at it. Right. And that rarely works because somebody usually sniffs out how to defeat that one thing some point in the season, and you end up playing a good team.
7 Patriots.
Yep. And the other way is to just be really freaking good. Maybe not even great, maybe not elite, but just really freaking good and solid at a bunch of different things. Yep. That's what this Patriots team was.
Yeah. Well,
and you saw it.
Yeah, and to your point, right? The Dolphins for lack of a better word, played scared, in my opinion. The safety that they take is with, a minute 20 left in the game, and they're going for it on 4th down. At that point, they don't have a choice. They're at their own 3-yard line. The game's over. So you have to go for it there. You're already down 2 scores, but you had opportunities to do it earlier in the game. When you were down only 3 points, you had opportunities to do it during the game, right? Then you were down 10 points. You had another opportunity to do it earlier in the game. You didn't do it. These are chances that you have to be aggressive and to go out there and do that. And the fact that they weren't willing to do that and weren't willing to take that risk is ultimately what could have cost them the game. If they pick up those first downs, that could be the difference between winning and losing. And it's one of the reasons why I thought Dave Wanstead wasn't a great coach. I didn't think he was very aggressive. I didn't think he really understood what he was doing. And it certainly showed there, at least in my opinion, but we'll see. So another victory for the silver uniforms. Another victory.
Their second time being worn. I also think that this is a Miami team that just did not have the guys on offense to be aggressive. Like Jay Fiedler, not that great of a quarterback, and when you're playing in tough conditions like that, it's tough to ask a guy like that to be aggressive. There's only so much you can do, and they also had Ricky Williams. You're expecting that you can lean on Ricky Williams and he's going to win you football games. And I will say, I think that maybe the most underrated play in this game happens in the second quarter, because Ricky Williams could have won this game for the Dolphins. They have not had a first down all game. It's 3rd and 1 halfway through the second quarter, and everyone knows the Dolphins are about to run it. The Patriots sell out and bring a run blitz on it, and Ricky Williams squirts right through a hole. He picks up 16 yards on this play, and if not for an open field tackle by free safety Eugene Wilson down the field, it goes for a touchdown. Like, that's going to end up being an 81-yard touchdown run if he's not able to make a tackle. He makes an open field tackle. They pick up, I think, another first down. Yeah, one more first down on that drive, and it stalls. They get to midfield, and then actually Willie McGinnis and Mike Vrabel have a nice takedown of Jay Fiedler, and that stalls the drive at midfield. So just like a play like that in the first half, if it's 7-3, who knows how this game plays out? Maybe the Pats just win 12-7, but
right. But
you never know.
Yep. And that's I couldn't agree with you more. And so it's but it's those plays, and a guy like a guy like Eugene Wilson. And listen, when Chatham was on with us, he couldn't have been more effusive about Eugene Wilson. I think he's one of those uniquely talented players that is better than we ever gave him credit for at the time. And I think you look back and you're like, that was a really important guy for these two teams, for the 03 and 04 run. And, he had his flaws and he wasn't the best, but man, he made a lot of big plays, and that's one of them. That's a big play there. And listen, you win 21 games in a row. We've talked about this. You win 21 games in a row. You got to make plays like that. There were plays like that happen all the time in most of these games. And Eugene makes that play, and here we are.
And it was he was really good at points this season. That is a rookie safety. You don't see that often. People talk about Rodney Harrison as the hard hitter in that unit too, and it stands out how much Eugene Wilson was also a hard hitter. Like, you watch the safety duo, and the why they let Lawyer Malloy go question becomes very, very clear. Wilson was a star for them right away, and unfortunately didn't really end up lasting for him. I feel like after I have not gone back and rewatched the 05 and 06 games. I don't really know when it stopped coming together for him.
Well, and once they changed the rules, that's what happens with these guys. He changed the rules like that. Eugene Wilson's flying around killing people. And, my dad just texted me he couldn't play today. He couldn't play now, right? He was out there destroying people and taking guys' heads off, right? And that was what they did on defense. And you change the rules to make it to protect guys, and I get it. But when you do that, you lose guys like Eugene Wilson. He wasn't good player, decently athletic, not athletic enough to play free safety in the NFL today. He just
in the space NFL. Yeah,
correct.
It's by the way, you talked about taking guys' heads off. There's a play in the first half of this game, actually a couple of plays after that Ricky Williams run, where Ted Johnson hits one of the linemen for the Dolphins and splits his helmet in two. It's crazy. I've never seen a helmet fall apart like that. Like, it's in two separate pieces on the ground after the play. So that was crazy. Which, cold weather and the bad helmets they had back then, and the fact that you could hit players in the head and people wouldn't really care, allows that to happen. I wanted to mention, I mentioned before how Brady hit Branch a couple times for some big plays. Part of that's on the big drive that pins Miami deep before the pick. One of these catches was amazing. Branch is like falling as he catches it, and he like stops from hitting the ground with like one hand and brings it in. So I thought that was pretty cool. We don't really talk about that. Like, Deion Branch, really good player.
Yeah.
And then one other note on this one. We mentioned how the Dolphins didn't go for it on 4th and 1 and how cowardly that was at that one point. The play before that, 3rd and 1, they stopped Ricky Williams. They mentioned on the broadcast it was the second time that season where Ricky Williams got stopped on a 3rd and 1. The second time.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about the Dolphins being conservative, but when you have a back who can do that, you can be that way. It just takes, that's great when you're facing mediocre teams. When you go up against an elite defense, you need the passing game, and they just did not have that.
They didn't have it. I agree.
No, not at all. And that then became the 11th Dolphins punt of the game, which was a franchise record for them. And the Patriots went 15 straight possessions there without allowing a touchdown, which then continued to almost the end of the next game that we are going to talk about.
Yes, we are. I don't have any other notes from this game. I do have one note from another game that week.
I think we might be thinking of the same game here. Is it one out west?
It was one out west.
Okay.
San Francisco hangs 50 on the Arizona Cardinals. Is what I have. San Fran hanging 50 on the Cardinals. Jeff Garcia, the great Jeff Garcia, throws for 4
backyard
touchdowns.
Football legend.
Backyard
football cover athlete, I believe.
I believe so. Throws for 4 touchdowns, runs for 2 more. Just absolute annihilation. Josh McCown gets sacked in the end zone. Actually, strip sacked in the end zone, which Arizona recovers for safety. They're up 36-0 on them. They win like 50-14 or something ridiculous like that. They just absolute annihilation.
That's crazy. I have one more note from this game, but it's kind of that week, and then 2 more notes from that week. One, Teddy Bruschi ends up winning Defensive Player of the Week in the AFC. Adds up with that touchdown on the pick.
Yep.
They show right as this game is starting, because it's in the 4:00 window, the end of the Tennessee and Indy game, which I'm looking for the box score for this right now. Yeah. Colts end up winning 29-27 in Tennessee. They were up 22-10 at one point, and then 29-13. They pull away from Tennessee here. And that Colts sweep the Titans. This ends up being huge because those two teams, I believe, they're tied going into that game. Tied for first place in the AFC South, battling for the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts end up winning that game, and the fact that the Colts end up winning that one, it kind of ends up being the reason why Patriots end up facing the Titans in the first round of the playoffs and the Colts in the second round. That's the edge right there. So I wonder what that looks like if it's Pat's Colts in the first round, and how are we talking about Peyton Manning if he's not winning the division?
100%. Yeah.
So that I thought was interesting, and then the other one, they do game breaks all throughout the game because it's happening at the same time. The number 1 seed in the AFC at that point. It's not co-MVP Steve McNair. It's not co-MVP Peyton Manning. It's not greatest of all time quarterback Tom Brady. It's the Kansas City Chiefs with Trey Green. They are, I think, 11-1 at that point on the road at Denver, and they keep showing the clips. And this is a back and forth game in the first half. And then the Broncos just literally run away with it in the second half. They score 28 unanswered points. Clinton Portis has 5 touchdowns. They end up blowing out Kansas City. And that, with what the records in conference were at the time, means the Patriots are in first place in the AFC, which obviously ends up being quite important.
Clearly don't look back. Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So, and then, that leads to the Chiefs hosting the Colts in the divisional round. And again, not forcing them to punt. and scoring a ton of points and losing anyways.
Yeah,
and so
the
that's
Colts played
interesting.
both of
It's
those
interesting.
teams.
So
Colts played both of those teams, didn't punt against either one, I believe, before coming into New England.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah,
crazy.
So,
But we haven't gotten there yet. I think it's week 16 of that year, but the Broncos actually end up beating the Colts in like week 16 in Indy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and then 2 weeks later, it's totally irrelevant. The Colts just annihilate them.
Yeah. One other thing, it happened a little bit earlier in the week on Friday, I believe, of that week. The Celtics blow a 26-point home lead, halftime lead, and end up losing by 6 to Seattle. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. 26-point lead at the half, and you blow it. The Celtics stunk that year, but nevertheless. So, all right, let's get into our ad break because we're almost already in an hour. So I know we're not going to talk a ton about this Jags game, but let's get to it. Also, before we get to the ad break, just shout out for Ichigo here. Loving the series y'all doing. Love hearing the games broke down from when I was a child watching this team down in the South. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, and this is kind of what it's all about: reliving the nostalgia. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it's good perspective to look at these games now when you look at like what the league is. It helps you, I think, better analyze what's going on in the league today when you have a better understanding of where it came from.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into our ad break. Of course, our ad break, this is for PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000. That's right. 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Do you know a ball? There's only one series left in both playoffs, and the championship is officially on the line. That means time is running out for you to put your final takes to the test on PrizePicks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Again, my favorite part of this app is that you can mix and match all the sports. You want to make a lineup that has basketball guys and hockey guys and baseball guys and esports guys and all sorts of guys. You can do it. You want to, throw some WNBA girls in your lineup? Do it. And that's great. I love doing that. So, PrizePicks, as always, they offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into and out of your account all sports season. Don't forget, on Tuesdays, Taco Tuesdays, several projections on the board, usually discounted at somewhere between 15 and 25%. And every Friday is a Flex Friday. You got to opt in and then tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for the protected play. Choose a square cement game on the board. If your lineup does not win, you get your net losses back in promo funds up to your promo limit as soon as the lineup settles. Right away. You don't have to wait for it. Whatever it is, you get it back. You can't beat that. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to download the app PrizePicks. You're going to put in the promo code CLNS. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 instantly. Don't have to win. You just got to play the lineup. Once again, download the app PrizePicks. Put in the promo code CLNS. And when you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 instantly. PrizePicks. Run your game.
We got a close game in OKC right now, by the way.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
8-point game as we speak. So it was just down to 5 a second ago. So I'll be tracking that as we're going on here. But we're on to 2003 here.
On to the next 14th. Game. Yep. December 14th, 2003. Jacksonville Jaguars are coming into town. The Jaguars are at 4-9. Not very good. Coached by Jack Del Rio. Oof.
His first year as a head coach.
Yeah, first year as a head coach. Not going well. Not going well for them. Someone named Seth Marler is their kicker. Okay. But Byron Leftwich, Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith.
Rookie Byron Leftwich. This is his first year. So overall pick.
And so, they got some guys. They have Mark Edwards. Patriots great Mark Edwards is on their team. And so they do have some players over there. Not a ton of players, but they do have some pretty good players over there. Big John Henderson is over there still. And so they have a few good players. but just not enough to be able to compete with. They have old Hugh Douglas. Like Hugh Douglas is awesome as a player, like fantastic player. For the Giants, for the Jets and the Eagles. By the time he gets to Jacksonville, he's 32. And I know, and he'd been like 3 consecutive years had been a Pro Bowler. And he gets to Jacksonville, and he's just not the same guy, right? He finishes with 3.5 sacks. He's just not the guy that he was in Philadelphia for those 3 years. But as that does tend to happen, he just looked very old when he got to Jacksonville. And so, but anyways, they come in, and the Patriots kind of give him a whooping. I know that the score ends up not too bad, but the Patriots took care of business in this one.
A couple other names I thought were interesting. 2 future Patriots on the Jaguars. Kyle Brady, who would end up in New England for a short time, and Chris Hansen, their punter, who ended up in New England from 07-09. So we have talked at great length about the Patriots punter history on this show. Speaking of punters, Ken Walters back for a 1-week hiatus. Patriots favored by 6 points. Tony Brackens and Marcus Stroud, 2 other good players for Jacksonville's defense. Now, I read a post-game article from the Miami game. The first thing Bill mentioned in the locker room after they won the division against Miami was that the Jaguars had just beaten Houston 27-0. The Houston team that they played a close game to. And it was like, these guys can play. Their defense was actually playing well. They allowed 10, 13, 10, and then no points in their 4 games heading into that. So the defense had something going. They weren't great, but I think there's a sense of, okay, the defense is getting something. They got a young quarterback who's starting to play a little bit better. Patriots favored by 6, but maybe this gets interesting. Coaching staff also includes Mike Smith as the defensive coordinator, who ended up as a decent head coach for a while later in his career. And then one other name I thought was interesting. Kevin Johnson. Do you remember that name, Pat?
I do, in fact.
The guy the Browns were on the Ty Law game-sealing interception against the Browns. He was the targeted receiver. Now he's playing with the Jags. He's back in town. He actually ends up having a really good day for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Which is funny. And you do mention that the Patriots ended up taking this one 27-13. It's really 27-6 before garbage time.
Garbage time touchdown, yeah.
But the first 4 possessions of this game all ended in points.
Well, that's what's really fascinating, right? The Patriots' first drive, they drive right down the field. Brady goes 5 for 5 for 54 yards, hits Daniel Graham on a 27-yard touchdown pass. They're up 7-0. And you're like, all right, it's easy. We're going to be good. The first play of the Jacksonville drive, they hit Jimmy Smith for a 67-yard pass. Now, he ends up getting tackled at the 9-yard line, right? Thank God they saved a touchdown.
Rodney Harrison, touchdown-saving tackle.
Of course, right? And so, he goes almost for a touchdown. Well, he doesn't go for a touchdown, and the Patriots defense stuffs them, and they settle for a field goal. Now it's 7-3. So you're thinking, okay, good.
In that span, also worth noting, on 3rd down, Kyle Brady had a ball go off his hands in the end zone, which there are, between these two teams, I counted 3 dropped touchdown passes in this game.
Which checks out. Yeah, checks out.
A theme. Yeah.
So Patriots go on a 15-play, 8-minute drive after that. They get the ball 2nd and 3. They give it to Antoine Smith twice in a row. Can't pick up the first down. They settle for a field goal. So now they're up 10-3.
I want to touch on this drive real quick, too, because Brady gets a 7-yard carry, which I think they said was his long for the season, on a QB sneak on 3rd and 3, which, man,
the QB sneaks. QB sneaks for like 5+ yards are wild.
Well, and it was just anytime they were in 3rd and like a short medium, I guess 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4.
Yeah, they were just running up the middle of Brady.
Well, if they didn't put someone over the center, Brady was like, all right, I can get this myself, and they go for it. They audible into it. They're backed up on a 3rd and 14. He finds David Givens for 18 yards in a really nice play. And then on 3rd and 20, just outside of field goal range, he found Troy Brown for a 23-yard completion. So 3 really big conversions from Brady there to get into field goal range.
That's a great point.
And on the field goal, Adam Vinatieri became the 2nd Patriots player to have at least 900 points.
How about that? Look at that, behind Gino Cappelletti, of course. The late great Gino Cappelletti. Jaguars get the ball back. Now, again, they're down 10-3, but they go on a drive. A 13-play, 7-minute drive. They have the ball first and goal at the 5. They can't punch it in. They settle
Fred
for
Taylor.
another field goal. And
they call a nice little screen pass to Fred Taylor in that stretch on 3rd and goal from like the 4 or the 5 or whatever it was, and no one's near him, and he drops it.
Yep.
So the Jaguars could have started this game with back-to-back touchdown drives, and both times they just cannot execute in the red zone.
Yep. And this is where, and look, they won 21 straight games, right? But you feel like the consistent theme that always shows up with these Patriots is that if you make a mistake against them, they kill you. And that's exactly what happens here, is that the Jags drop 2 touchdown passes, and you're thinking, man, we could be up 14-10 right now. And you're feeling good. Young team, young head coach. You're like, all right, we're okay. We're in this game. We've driven down twice. We're like, all right, this is great. We got this. And then they really can't move the ball too much. Lately, the Patriots do get the ball back. They kind of trade some bad drives. Patriots get the ball back after a bad punt in Jaguars territory. They drive down, end up setting. They have a long pass play to David Gibbons. They end up settling for. Yeah, it was. Yep. They end up settling for a field goal again.
Yeah.
And so now it's like just before the 2-minute warning.
On that field goal drive, by the way, another drop touchdown pass, 3rd and 12. And Brady finds Larry Centers with no one within 5 yards of him in the end zone. The ball goes off his hands,
which is wild because Larry Centers has the most receptions by a running back in NFL history, I believe.
Or at least when he retired, he did. I don't know if that still holds up, but right. He's Larry Legend.
Right. And so the fact that he's out here dropping touchdown passes is like, what is going on here? Right. So they settle for a field goal. Now it's 13-6. The Jags get the ball back and instantly drive down into field goal range. And Marler.
Kevin Johnson, 28-yard catch in that.
Yep. So see, there's your guy.
Yep.
Seth Marler misses a 34-yard field goal right at the end of the half. And here's what I'll tell you. I looked up the stats because I was like, his stat line cannot be real. Seth Marler played 1 season in the NFL, all for the Jags in 2003. Okay. Between 20 and 29, this guy was automatic between 20 and 29 yards. Between 20 and 29 yards, he was 10 for 11. Practically automatic inside of 30. When he went out to 30 to 39, he was 4 for 8. 30 to 39, he was 4 for 8, 50% from under 40 yards. And then from 40 to 49, 5 for 12. And 50 plus 1 for 2, which actually, isn't bad. That's pretty impressive. He hit 50 plus. 4 for 8 in between in the 30s is mind numbing. It's unbelievable that's an NFL kicker.
And he really wasn't for very long.
He wasn't. But again, you're down 13-6 here. If you hit that field goal, you're down 13-9. You feel different about that game. You're down. Touchdown, you take the lead. Instead of a touchdown, you score, you tie the game, right? And so, again,
three red zone possessions in the first half for Jacksonville, and they get a total of 6 points out of it. 2 points per possession in the red zone is absolutely atrocious.
Not ideal.
When you're a 6-point underdog on the road, and then weather forecast, snow expected, which starts to come down in the second half, turns this into a blizzard, and that, I think, is that's when everything starts to really fall apart for the Jets.
Well, and that's the second half is kind of rough offensively. Patriots get the ball in the red zone. They have a 30-yard pass to Daniel Graham, a 14-yard by Antoine Smith, and you're like, all right, this is good. We're moving. I believe it was a screen pass that he throws to Smith, and he fumbles at the 11-yard line.
A little check down, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it wasn't a screen pass. It was a check down, and he fumbles at the 11.
Which the possession before that, too, the Patriots end up getting into field goal range. They get to as deep as the 22-yard line, and then I think a 3-yard loss on a run, and then Matt Light takes a 15-yard penalty, and you're out of field goal range. So 2 possessions there, the Patriots should have come away with points, and
they don't. Right, and now the Jags get the ball. Their ensuing drive, Leffler throws a pick. And so now again, Patriots in a situation where, okay, here we go. We just made a big mistake. Doesn't matter. Defense comes through again. What do?
Tyrone
They
Poole.
take that ball down and they score a touchdown. The next drive after that, now the Patriots are up, 17-6? The next drive after that, Leftwich throws a pick, and this is where Tyrone Poole takes it all the way down to the 3-yard line, and they punch it. They punch it in
and that's
for a touchdown.
I want to go back to the touchdown and make it 20-6 because it is beautiful. First of all, they get a 3rd and 6. Brady finds Larry Centers to get 8 yards. Then it's 3rd and 8 from the 10-yard line, and they draw up. I mean, we'd be loving this play design today. It's nothing crazy, but it's just like a little like not an inverted smash, but a concept to the outside where Troy Brown's running to the corner of the end zone, like almost like an out. It's not quite a corner. He's got a guy sitting underneath to like draw a defender so that he can be open there. And Brady buys just enough time to get this ball away before he gets hit. And that's, if you're under pressure late in the play, throwing to the back corner of the end zone, that oftentimes is a recipe to have someone undercut it and you're going to get picked off on it. And Brady reads it perfectly, places it perfectly through the snow as it's really coming down, and Troy Brown makes a catch. And at that point, 14-point game feels mostly out of reach with what Jacksonville's doing. But then I think the funniest moment in this game is when Tyrone Poole picks off Leftwich again, and he thinks he is all alone for a pick six, and he's holding up that football. He's got it up like this, celebrating, and he gets tackled from behind at the 3-yard line. There's on the 03 3 games to glory. There's on the bonus disc they have the Patriots All Access from the win streak. So, like you see today, they put on the YouTube channel and everything. It's that same style of highlights from back then with all of the mic'd up in the sideline content. And the guys on defense are just giving it to Tyrone Poole after that, making fun of him for celebrating before he gets into the end zone. They're all running around on the sideline, holding the ball up, laughing at him. It's hysterical.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'm sure that did not go over well with Bill Belichick, but
great teaching moment. I think that in a win like this, not that it didn't go over well with Bill, but I think the immediacy of everyone on the sideline making fun of him probably taught him the lesson he needed.
I would agree. Yes, I would agree. And so, that happens. They score a touchdown there. Now they're up by, 21. And sure,
less than
Jags,
4 minutes left.
Yeah, the Jags get the ball, they drive down the field and score a touchdown. Like, good for them. Patriots recover the onside kick, and that's basically the game. And so garbage time touchdown. But again, as you said, that's the first touchdown they've allowed in quite a while. And I believe it was was it the first hold on.
The last time they allowed a touchdown in any game was the touchdown to tie it that the Colts had 2 weeks prior near the end of that game.
Right.
The last touchdown that they allowed at Gillette Stadium was the Steve McNair run, I believe to take the lead in week 5. So the last time they allowed a touchdown at Gillette Stadium before that was the first game of this win streak, which is October. We're almost at Christmas now.
Yeah, which is incredible
stuff from the team.
Yeah.
Also, the touchdown itself, it is like all of a sudden near whiteout conditions in the stadium, and literally like Leftwich just heaves up a prayer while getting smoked by Tyrone Poole, and it's Asante Samuel back there, and he and Kevin Johnson are both looking for the football, and Samuel just can't find it. It's like you can't see the ball because of the conditions. Johnson just happens to be where the ball ends up, and it's in the air for a while. So kind of a funny touchdown, a very anticlimactic one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 27-13 is the final.
Yeah, and it ends up one of those things where the Patriots are. Yeah, I mean, Patriots win this game, and you feel like, all right, like this is, again. It's not a great team. They're not playing a great team, but the Patriots are just rolling at this point. We're 10 games in. They're on a 10-game winning streak. It doesn't happen often. 10-game winning streak does not happen often. And, the they hate their coach, and the the worry after that 31-0 loss against the Bills in Buffalo week 1 is a distant memory at this point.
Yeah.
And that's one of those interesting games. What's really funny to me is that the Dolphins game is a memory that's burned into my brain. This game, I'm watching it and I'm like, I have no recollection of this game. I don't even remember being in the stadium for this game. Like I have nothing, no memory whatsoever of this game, which is so funny because I mean, it's not like a super memorable game, but like when you play a game in like a blizzard like this, and I know it wasn't this like that the whole game. When you play a game, in the snow like this, you would think that would be a memorable game, and I nothing. It's like a blank slate. It's like I got Men in Black right after the game.
Yep. Well, there's 2 or 3 games in this streak that I would say are not particularly memorable. Browns game, I think, is one of those.
Right.
The Browns game does have the big Ty Law interception at the end.
Well, of course, but that's memorable for me because I was on the field, right? But
but I don't think most fans are remembering that one. There's
Right.
this game, and then maybe the Jets game the next week. Next one we're going to get to. It has some big plays in it. I don't know if it's that memorable, and I do think a part of it's like you go through this stretch, Tennessee that you beat's a playoff team. Miami's in playoff contention for most of the year. Denver gets into the playoffs. Dallas gets into the playoffs. The Colts are in the AFC Championship game. And then you get the Dolphins again. Kind of this gauntlet of really good teams, teams that end up with winning records. And you get to this point in the schedule, and it's like, all right, you get Jacksonville, a game everyone thinks you're going to win. You get the Jets next week, a game everyone thinks you're going to win. And then the Bills game, they blow them out. That Bills game is only memorable. Like, it's not really memorable for what happens on the field as much as it is the context of the season. And
100%.
the final play by Larry Izzo, I think.
I couldn't tell you one play from that game except for the Larry Izzo interception.
Yeah, like that's what that comes down to.
Yeah.
And this Jaguars game is just like it's sandwiched right in between all these games, and I think it happens at the point in the calendar when you're finally relaxed because the Denver game is stressful. The Dallas game, like this whole streak has been stressful games. The whole thing. And then you beat Indy on the road to really, really cement that you're one of the elite teams in the NFL. And then you win the division the next week at home. And all of a sudden, it goes from this constant stress to we're guaranteed a home game in the playoffs. We're in position for the number 1 seed. And we got a rookie quarterback coming into town right before Christmas, and it's supposed to snow. A team from down south. Like, I'm going to guess this was the least anxious any Patriots fan felt about any game that season, except possibly that Bills game. Because everything's wrapped up then. But there's still some anticipation for that one. There's no anticipation for this one.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. So, you got any more notes on this one?
There was, after the Antoine Smith touchdown run, which I did find it funny that they're at the 3, and it's just 3 1-yard runs in a row. He runs it in behind Seymour. Seymour gets a penalty for roughness after the play. There's a fight that breaks out after the touchdown. On the broadcast, they don't really go into much detail about what happened for that one. That's really about it for like interesting things that happen. I do have quite a few notes for other things in the league. This is a very interesting week.
Yeah, I only have one, and it's funny. I didn't realize this until just now, but I actually picked another Cardinals game. Carolina beats Arizona. Carolina goes 93 yards in 9 plays to take the lead, 17-14 early in the 4th.
Yeah.
The Cardinals drive right down the field and miss a 35-yard field goal to tie the game. Like, it's just like, you gotta be kidding me. They get the ball back from the Panthers. They hit a 44-yarder to tie it on the next drive. So you're like, all right, now it's tied. The Panthers get the ball back with just over a minute left and end up getting in field goal range and hitting their own 44-yarder to win the game with 8 seconds.
49-yarder.
A 49, right.
Yeah, that's John Casey.
Yep.
And that game won the NFC South. That's how they clinched that
year. Yeah. So that was a so anyways, that to me was decently memorable. It was just funny. I was like, wait, I picked 2 Cardinals games back to back. Like,
and we're gonna be talking about another Cardinals game next week. I don't know if you remember it. But week 17 of this season, that Cardinals game, we are going to be talking about that one because that I think was one of the craziest endings to a game in football history. But yeah, it was. And for some names, Neil Rackers and John Casey, the two kickers in that Cardinals Panthers one, that'll take you back.
Oh yeah,
That Pat was not the only game that week with multiple field goals in the final 2 minutes.
okay.
Browns Broncos in Denver. Both teams traded field goals in the final minute. Game goes to overtime. Broncos end up winning it on a Jason Elam 25-yard field goal. I mention that because the Broncos end up making the playoffs that year, and that win combined with their win the next week over Indy are what get them into the playoffs. Obviously, they end up getting boat raced, but at this point, you don't know what's going to happen there. So
And we're still in, right?
Really important to the playoff picture. They do a game break during the Pats game, whether they flash to New York for the Jets-Steelers game, and it is just whiteout conditions. They're basically like, here's the weather that's coming. This is what we're going to get in the second half. The Jets end up beating the Steelers 6-0 is the final for that one. Steelers missed 2 field goals. Jets made 2 field goals. That's basically that and a couple turnovers. Not a lot happened. Surprising amount of yards in that game. Not a lot of points. There was a game between the Bengals and the 49ers that week that had 31 points in the fourth quarter, 21 points in the final 4 minutes. The Bengals end up beating the 49ers 41-38. The Bengals were up by like 2 scores going into the fourth quarter, and the 49ers kept coming back to within a score, and then the Bengals would answer kind of that back and forth. So no lead changes, but high-scoring game there. John Kitna and the Bengals, they would then lose their last 2 games and fall out of the playoff picture. And then one other football note, the Titans were down 17-6 in Buffalo with backup quarterback Billy Volek starting, and they ended up battling back for a 28-26 win. So shout out Billy Volek. Second time that he has been mentioned in the series.
Yep, love it. By the way, in that Pittsburgh Jets game, the Pittsburgh Steelers had 214 yards of offense. Curtis Martin had 174 yards rushing. I will go to my grave saying that Curtis Martin might be the most underrated running back in NFL history. I feel like he doesn't get now. He is in the Hall of Fame, but I feel like he doesn't get his due. Because he was an incredible player. So anyways, yeah,
very good point. I have one other note, but it's not sports at all. We're going geopolitics at the time. The day before, night before, I'm not sure the exact time, before the Pats Jaguars game, Saddam Hussein was captured.
Look at that.
So that puts that into some context of where things were in the world when this is happening.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. How about that? You got a Saddam Hussein reference on the Pats Nation Network podcast.
We got a Saddam Hussein reference on the Pats Nation Network podcast before Joel Embiid made the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's a great point. So then again, I don't think Joel Embiid's ever going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. So a lot of things are going to happen before that happens. So,
but yeah, I think that's
it.
Now, Pat, I think for like the final time, or like from this point on in the series, the Patriots are in first place in everything. Division, first place in the conference, they end up winning the Super Bowl in this streak. Until they lose that game in Pittsburgh, which ended up being why they finished second in the AFC in 2004. They're first place for this entire stretch with no peers.
Yeah. And it's, and I think the shift has happened before this, right? But you kind of get that shift where it's like there's the Patriots and then there's everybody else. Right. Yeah. And I think that, that this happens. And I go back, and it's not necessarily all part of the streak, but I go back and I think, if you ever want proof of how dominant the Patriots were, they beat the co-MVP. They beat both co-MVPs in the playoffs in this year.
Go 4-0 against the co-MVPs that season.
Yep. The following season, they allow 3 points to the MVP and the number 1 offense in the NFL. they score 41 points against the number one defense in the NFL, and they win their second consecutive Super Bowl. And oh, by the way, they win 21 games in a row and go, 28, 31, 34, and 4 in 2 seasons. It's just completely unheard of. And in my opinion, obviously records are made to be broken, blah, 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 everything else. I don't think there's ever been a more dominant run than what the Patriots did from 03 to 04. And again, they changed the rules. They literally changed the rules because the Patriots are too good. And so, here we are.
Yeah. And then also somehow from here, I think the Patriots are almost through the toughest stretch. They end up having at least the closest stretch in the win streak. We're 10 games in, 6 of these games are one possession games. Like, these are close, hard fought games. The rest of the 11 more wins on the streak, only 5 of them are one possession games. And one of them is going to be our next one, which ends a one possession game. It really wasn't with how that game plays out. You got 2 games in the playoffs this year, and then 2 games in the regular season the next season that end up being close ones that come down to the end at home. So but there ends up being a little bit of breathing room here. We got a couple real blowouts. The Bills game, they have 2-score wins against Arizona, Miami, Seattle the next season as well, and even that Colts game in the playoffs ends up being 10-point victory where they have control for most of the game. So it's kind of crazy that I feel like we're into the easy stretch of this now, and we're not even to the playoffs.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, right, the Titans make the playoffs, and they have the co-MVP on their team. The Dolphins don't make the playoffs, but they do finish the season at 10-6.
That's a good team,
and that it's a good team, right? If they don't play the Patriots and lose the Patriots twice, they're in the playoffs, right? The Broncos make the playoffs.
They probably give the Colts a better game in the first round than the Broncos ended up giving them.
I would agree. So the Broncos make the playoffs. The Cowboys finished 8-8, so they don't make the playoffs. But the Texans, I believe, no, never mind. They sucked that year. The Colts, again, you get the Dolphins again, and so it's like there is a stretch of like pretty good teams there. Not all great teams, but pretty good teams.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good teams. I think at this point in the schedule, I think the playoff picture ends up being set. I don't think it changes after this. At least in the AFC, I have no clue about the NFC.
No. That doesn't matter to us anyways.
Now the Patriots are the 1 seed, and with that, it might take until the next week when the Broncos win to really solidify that. But it ends up being Patriots is the 1 winning the East, Chiefs is the 2 winning the West, Colts is the 3 winning the South, which they do end up in a tie with the Titans. So that sweep ends up being exactly why they win that division. Mm-hmm. Ravens win the North as the 4 seed. Titans is the 5, and then it just comes down to Denver and Miami, both tied at 10-6, fighting for that final seed. Denver ends up getting it, and then Cincinnati is right behind them, 8-8. And like I said before, they lose their.
Oh boy, I don't know if it's you or me, Matt. Someone cut out. Was it you, or was it me? I think it might have been Matt. I'm sitting here waiting like, I think Matt. No, maybe he's not coming back. So, all right. Jamari did mention this. Jamari mentioned in the chat. OKC, they did win Game 5, and so it's now 3 games to do. OKC. So we'll see what happens. If Indiana can pull it out, it felt like Game 4 was Indiana's to lose. They had it. They blew it. And that's the end of that. So, but anyways, let's get you out of here. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate it. It was a great episode as always. Thank you to the chat for being here, for tuning in, and for following along. All right, and we're going to be back on later on this week, probably on Wednesday night. Thursday night, I'm going to be in New York City at a K-pop concert. Can't believe I'm saying that, but that's where we're going. I'm going to invest in some earplugs, I think. But Jamari, good luck to you, sir. If you're from Oklahoma, good luck to you. I'm kind of rooting for the Pacers, but I don't know. I don't really care. I like both teams. I think both teams are fun. And so really can't go wrong. I was just looking for a good series, and that's kind of what we're getting here. So, nevertheless, so Wednesday night we'll be back with our next two games, the last two games of the 03 regular season. So, so that's what we got. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Be good to each other and go Pats. Oh, there's Matt. Bye, everyone.